Hi there and welcome back. Tonight we'll be doing a cased caddis. Some people also call this a peking caddis, but I refer to this as my cased caddis pattern. Use this a lot in rivers that have a population of caddis, in particular the ones that you'll see that build cases and crawl around on the rocks at the bottom of the river. It's good whenever you go to a new place or even a place that you're familiar with, is go to the bottom of the river and the shallows there and pick up some rocks and see what's crawling around in the rocks. And a lot of times you'll find these little cased guys on the rocks, and if so, this is a great pattern to use. To start with, I've got a size 16 2x long nymph hook, heavy wire, and I'm going to be using for thread the Semperfly 12/0 nano silk in black. I'm going to go ahead and start this just behind the eye here and give the shank a good coating of thread and trim off the butt here. Now you can or don't have to, but I like to add a little bit of weight to this. It helps it not only get down faster, but it also lets you build up a little bit of bulk in the abdomen here. I'll be using some size 15,000 sled wire. You can use the tungsten wire or non-lead variables, but this is what I have handy, so I'm using this one. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of lead here in the core of the abdomen. Break that off. Do that on the back as well here. Break that off. And take my thread, put up a little dam behind, and capture it in the front here, and pull it back tight, and cover up that lead. Do that again, come up here, pull that lead tight, and go ahead and cover that up. We're going to be putting some pheasant tail over the abdomen here, so I want that to be able to adhere to this wire well, and it helps if you've got a thread base on here. Okay, now we're going to be using pheasant tail for the abdomen, so I'm going to grab a pheasant tail feather here. I'm going to pull out 5 or 6 fibers and trim those off. And go ahead and clip off the tips of those. Make them even. And tie this on the shank here. Covering up that lead base and working my way back down to just where the bend starts down a little bit farther. Then I'm going to put a little bit of ribbing on here. Not that this pattern needs ribbing, but it helps with the durability of the pheasant tail. I've got some UTC ultra wire, a small size in brown. I don't need to have a lot of flash here or make it a really pronounced rib like you would on a mayfly nymph or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this similar colored wire as to the pheasant tail. Put that on there. Now I'm going to put a little bit of crazy glue on the base here. That'll help give that pheasant tail a little bit more structure. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to go ahead and wind that up to my thread. This is where it helps to have the rotary vise. So with big hands like mine, it's easier than trying to pass it back and forth. And capture that. Tie it in. Fold it back and tie it over again. Break that off. I'm going to go ahead and wrap my rib. I'm going to counter wrap that. Again, this is mainly to give a little more structure and strength to that pheasant tail. And when the fish's teeth do start to make this a little ratty, it just makes the case look a little more fuzzy is all, but it holds it and makes it look a little better when you have the ribbing on here. Ribbing on, I'll copy that off. I'm going to put some legs on next. The legs here, I'm going to be using some black deer hair, elk hair, whatever you have handy. I'm going to grab a small clump of this. I want your legs to be a little more pronounced than the 6 legs that the bug actually has. I'm going to take this little clump and stack it here. You can play with how much deer hair, elk hair you put on here. Go ahead and pull this out. You want to grab it with your right hand. Makes it easier that way. So the tips are facing forward. I'm going to flatten my thread. And go ahead and tie this in with the tips protruding a little bit past the eye. Because these are going to be the legs that stick out when you're done. You can always pluck some of these out, make them thinner. And tie that in. And cut this off flush. There we go. Then for the thorax here, or the peaking part of the caddis, I got some uniflex here. You can use dubbing, you can use regular green olive or chartreuse thread or green thread. I like this flexi floss stuff. It gives it a little bit of gumminess, and it's a real beautiful green color that looks like these green rockworm type of larvae that are in these cases. So go ahead and tie that on and bring your thread forward behind the eye here. Leave it there. I'm going to go ahead and wrap a few layers of this flexi floss to build up a nice visible green head. And I'm going to capture that. It came loose, let me redo that. Keep that nice and tight and stretched when you're wrapping this. And capture it. Pull those legs back. And tie that in front of those legs. And go ahead and pull that tight and clip that off. We're going to whip finish that and we'll be done. It's a fairly simple pattern to tie, highly effective. I'm fishing a larger bug like a stonefly nymph or even a leech sometimes when I'm free drifting a leech. I'll put this case caddis there behind it. Anytime that ground gets stirred up or these come floating free, fish will see that green head and suck it right in. So there's the case caddis. Give it a try and happy tying.